In 1974, Nixon resigned due to Watergate, Muhammad Ali and George Foreman rumbled in the jungle, ABBA won Eurovision, West Germany won the FIFA World Cup, but most importantly, of course, cinema was happening. This isn't my favorite year for movies, actually maybe one of my least favorite of the ones that I've surveyed so far. There's still, an impressive top end. Every year has great movies, but I guess to me, the average movie I watched was a little less impressive than like a 1963, a 2022. So here are my 10 favorites from the year, and then we'll do like a little summary, some tidbits at the end. Number 10, Macon County Line. This is about a sheriff looking for revenge after his wife is murdered by a pair of drifters. It's a film that plays on some U.S. South versus North antagonism. There's some superiority from Northern characters. There's a chip on the shoulder of some Southern characters. It's a film with no good guys. It's a film about, exploring the idea of personal justice and the sort of fallibility of people pursuing their own brand of justice. It's pessimistic about the sort of intra-national conflict. It's pessimistic about the cops. It's pessimistic about justice. It's just a dirty, pessimistic, grimy Southern crime story. And I think maybe its main strength is keeping you on your toes about what it's going to do next. Number 9, Chinatown. Private Eye Jake Gittes is hired to investigate an affair before being swept into a larger web of scandals. I probably don't need to do a ton of legwork convincing people that Chinatown is worth a watch. Its reputation precedes itself. It is perhaps the definitive neo-noir, the sort of reimagining of the era of the genre while still becoming something fresh, relevant to the time with modern stars, things like that. I think in its own way, it is kind of the quintessential neo-noir. The film is precisely crafted, efficiently written, and skillfully directed by Roman Polanski, who is additionally a child rapist. And I think it's kind of fascinating the way that you can see, with modern context, the modern lens, the information about who Polanski is. It's interesting to see the information about what he's done in the context of these films. And, it's interesting to kind of to picture the fact that Polanski wrote like this kind of movie, also wrote like Repulsion, yet you can see him in the villainy himself, which is just a really interesting dynamic to me, at least, to think about as you're watching like some of his filmography. Whatever, extra context aside, the movie's awesome. Number 8, Himiko. This is a visualization of a Japanese myth, a sun goddess who founded Japanese society. Visually striking film, utilizing the scale of nature and wonderful sets, unique costumes. Color delineates people from certain groups. Color appears in surprising places sometimes, evoking like those separate groups interacting. The costumes also play a role, sometimes reinforcing the terrain that groups are found in, or a certain aesthetic, emotion, something like that, of the person wearing the costume. It's also just interesting to see and follow the story. I mean, who doesn't love a good myth of some sort, especially from, a culture you're not familiar with? Its own band of storytelling and its own unique sense of wonder. So to me, between the wonder, between the craft and the color and the aesthetics, this is just a wonderful experience. Pretty unique film that's a little bit exuberant, maybe a little bit unhinged, but has something beautiful to tell and delivers it beautifully. Number 7, Phase 4. Ants have started to show signs of high intelligence, and 2 scientists go out to study a place they congregate in the desert. This may sound like a bit of a B-grade monster movie type of situation, but I think it is certainly more than that. It has a lot of interesting qualities behind it. The most impressive quality to me is some just mind-blowing wildlife photography. The ants themselves are captured in such a detailed way, in such ways that make them seem very, almost empathetic, in ways that gives them qualities that makes them feel almost human and relatable in an odd way. And that's important because one of the film's main ideas to me, humanity as a whole tends to overestimate perhaps its own importance, its own impact. By being able to give the ants themselves some humanity, it kind of brings us down a peg in a sense. Like if something else had these same qualities, right? Like if we assume evolutionarily or something like that, whatever, something else managed to step up to the plate to a level we're at, like where's our uniqueness now? What do we have left? And so I think that's the kind of thing the movie is chiefly wrestling with. Perhaps you could also take it as a sort of colonialism metaphor of sorts. I don't know. It's people versus ants, so maybe it's not exactly scaled right, but I think you could see some elements of that in it as well. But whichever way you go, I think it's got interesting things to say and interesting things that it's thinking about. It's good music in spots. It's unique style, especially during the intro. I think the intro sells a lot of its best qualities well. well. And even though it isn't just a classic B monster movie, it does have some B monster movie sorts of qualities that give it a sense of fun and adventure. Number 6, La Prima Angelica. Luis travels to bury the remains of his mother. He stays with his aunt in a house from his childhood and recalls his childhood during the Spanish Civil War. To me, this is one of the most unique and memorable presentations of memory that I've seen in a film. The film treats the line of past and present as almost non-existent. It makes those memories so immediate and powerful because of kind of like the equal weight that they're given. The present is not relegating the past to something we just travel to. The past is an integral part of the present as presented in the film. The smoothest would not be happening without some extremely effective and tight blocking and editing that really just makes the whole thing go. I absolutely love Jose Luis Lopez Vasquez's performance as Luis. I think it's probably one of the best performances I've ever seen. He has an extremely gentle, vulnerable, innocent, childlike quality to him, even as an adult. He really needs to have that for some of the things the film is going through, right? In a lot of situations, it is putting him as an adult in the memories of him as a child. So he needs that quality to sell the sort of looseness of the past and present. And he does, it's just fantastic. There's just this mystery and sadness you're thinking about the whole time as you're watching him. It's so engrossing. Number 5, Pastoral, To Die in the Country. A director faces creative block while working on his latest film, which reimagines his adolescence. There's just so much you could possibly say about this movie. It's also hard to arrive on what to say because there's just so many little things in the movie that feel like they could be pointing at different things. It's almost paralysis by analysis. So I think the best way to sell it is just go in for the colors, for the style, for the composition, for the visual and sensory experience that the movie is. Such a wide range of color and striking combinations, varied eye-catching locations. Just purely visually, there's a lot to take in and a lot to enjoy. It is full of layers of oddities and realities, past and present, a almost like a self-exploration from the director in a fascinating way. So many things on the film's mind and so many potential threads to point to. It's hard, at least for me, not to come out of the film just buzzing about ideas and about little things that point to the little other things. It is an energizing film to me. I think it's one to seek out if you value unique cinematic experiences, because to me, this is absolutely a valuable, unique cinematic experience. Number 4, The Man Who Sleeps. A young man takes a turn for radical isolation as a voice observes both him and everything around him. This film sort of makes me think of if Chantal Akerman was a little less committed to the bit. It doesn't have quite the same commitment to like a monotony is the point, like Jean Dielman, for example, does, but it does hammer home the self-isolation with its own brand of monotony and pattern repetition. It doesn't even take 4 hours. The narrative voice is constant, as in it's throughout the film, but it's not monotonous. It reinforces and explains thought processes and events. And I know that might sound like annoying to have just like a narrator going over and over, but like I said, there's a little bit of dynamism to it. And also, I think it just helps really emphasize the character's kind of self-burial, if you will, in the decisions, the mindset that he's going through. The slight poetic approach to the monotony, I think, is a great boon. And it's enhanced by this unique soundscape that's often constructed from mundanity, from regular activities and regular things. Number 3, conversation piece. An older professor is pressured into renting his upstairs apartment to a family who pushes an element of chaos into his quiet life. This is Luigino Visconti's second to last film. Stars Burt Lancaster as the retired professor. Burt's great. The very image of an older man, grappling with like this different generation and different ideas. Beautifully designed film. Some of my favorite production design I've seen, especially like that main library, is just so gorgeous. It toes this line wonderfully between being so well populated, but not so cluttered as to be distracting or almost like anxiety inducing. In general, the whole apartment really uses this brown scale so well to create like this Baroque atmosphere that's really fitting his art collection. The environment is captured well. There's beautiful music for punctuation. It's an intriguing exploration of a desire for both loneliness and humanity. People may often be a mess, but we desire companionship. Most people do. We desire to be able to help people we care about, and sometimes shutting out problems shuts out the essence of life itself. To that end, it's somewhat of an existential film, at least in my eyes. And I'm sure it was to Visconti as he approached the end of his life. And I love the melancholy and uncertainty that the film evokes. It's also masterful how it manages to balance the chaos of that family with the pull that they have and the sort of charisma and likability that they manage to exude. Okay, time for some chalky picks. It's Francis Ford Coppola time. Number 2 is The Conversation. A paranoid surveillance expert has a crisis of conscience when he suspects that a a couple he is spying on will be murdered. My single favorite quality of the film is actually the music. One of my favorite film scores. The piano bits, those themes, the main theme really. Beautiful stuff, but I also love the jazz. I love the way that plays into Hackman's character as a sort of surprising element, a mysterious element, an element to his character that you wouldn't have guessed, that it almost makes you wonder a little more, like, what else is under the surface. Gene Hackman himself, fantastic. He channels this reluctance to engage and his guardedness so well. The movie's just full of enigmas. The movie feels like we're just surveilling this man, that we're just trying to dig a little bit into his secrets as he's surveilling others. Great editing from Walter Murch. His editor commentary on the film is very insightful. I found it one of my favorite commentaries that I've listened to. So one of the best conspiracy movies you could watch. Absolutely check it out. And then number 1, The Godfather. Well, The Godfather Part 2, of course. Part 2 of the saga compares Vito Corleone's beginnings with Michael running the family business. I hardly need to sell people on The Godfather. Kind of speaks for itself. One of my main takeaways in rewatching it is the lighting, the cinematography, the darkened shades that the movie evokes, kind of dragging you down into like this darkened present that Michael is experiencing, that everyone is experiencing. I love the dynamic taken by the dual approach to Vito's uprising and Michael's continuing helming of the family. I love De Niro. I think he's my favorite performance, but of course Pacino, no slouch at all. You just simply owe it to yourself to watch The Godfather. It's not a classic by accident. So this is from 52 movies watched for the year. A few of those are shorts, so I think it was 48 features. I didn't get to a couple of notable entries like Phantom of the Paradise or Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore or Female Trouble. I tried to balance some of the most popular with some of the best regarded ones, and just an occasional fun pick, Macon County Line. A couple that are notable that are not going to be on the list. A Woman Under the Influence, My First Cassavetes. I'm intrigued. I would like to watch more of his stuff at some point, but I'm not sold on the execution. We'll see. I'll plan to watch opening night at some point, and I don't know, maybe that'll inform my thoughts a little bit more, but was not really on board with what it was going for. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, just never been a big fan of it. I'm not a huge fan of slashers generally, so could be some of that, but also I think that people make it hard to really get that into it for me. Additionally, I'm not sure the tone of the execution always hits just right, although it does have some of my favorite opening credits. Those are wonderful. Blazing Saddles, I like it. It's view it positively. It's just not quite funny enough in my mind to be all the way up here. Ali, Fear Eats the Soul. I like it, kind of, but I think it's hamstrung a little bit in execution. I just think, to me, there are a lot of points where the movie feels a little bit wooden, a little bit not well cobbled together, I guess. But I'm also generally not the hugest fan of Fassbinder so far, so bear that in mind. And then a couple fun recommendations, just if you want to watch something unique. Space is the Place and Electra, My Love. So that's it for the year. Do you have any other favorites from 1974 that I didn't touch on?